Breaking news, Canadian police reporting that the U.S. consulate in Toronto has been hit by gunfire. That's all the detail we have. Let's watch live.
I would also like to ask that any members of the public who may have some evidence, some dash cam footage, some video footage, anything that might be suspicious activity that could be connected to this, that they please contact the police to assist us with our investigation. Again, I will repeat, the suspect vehicle was a white Honda CR-V. There were two males, two individuals that emerged and discharged the firearms. This is early in the investigation, and of course, as it unfolds and we're able to provide more information, we will surely do so. And now I'd like to turn the microphone over to Chief Superintendent Chris Leather.
Thank you, Deputy. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Leather. I'm the RCMP Chief Superintendent for Criminal Operations here in Ontario. I'm going to make some formal remarks here, and then I look forward to questions that the media may have afterwards. Our community has experienced a deeply concerning incident, and I want to begin by acknowledging the worry and uncertainty many people are feeling today. Our thoughts are with everyone affected, as well as those who may be feeling unsettled by what has occurred. At this stage, I can confirm that the RCMP is working closely with the Toronto Police Service and our international partners who will assist us in a fulsome investigation into the shooting that took place overnight, early this morning, at the American consulate behind us. The RCMP's Integrated National Security Enforcement Team, INSET, GTA, has permanent positions for members of the Toronto Police Service, which further increase our capacity to conduct these investigations in real time with established and strong relationships, intelligence sharing and tactics. At this time, the INSET team has been engaged, as this is a national security incident, and we are working with Toronto Police and others to understand the motivations of those involved. The RCMP regularly works in close collaboration with police services of jurisdictions across the country, as well as our partners with Global Affairs Canada in the fulfillment of our mandate to provide protection of designated persons, including foreign diplomats, and in relation to incidents that occur at or in the vicinity of embassies or consulates. For the moment, while the early stages of the investigation are taking place, we have increased security around embassies and consulate buildings here in Toronto and in the Ottawa region. There will be no tolerance for any form of intimidation, harassment, or harmful targeting of any communities or individuals in Canada. We want to assure that everyone's safety and security is at the forefront of everything that we do. The RCMP takes threats to security of individuals living in Canada very seriously and wants to reassure everyone that there is no indication of an immediate threat to public safety at this time. Thank you.
And we'll take questions now if you guys have some questions.
Chief Leather, you talk about working to figure out a motivation. We've already heard officials, including the Mayor of Toronto, seemingly link this to the heightened tensions in the Middle East. What's your response to that, and is that a fair positive effect?
It's too early for us to determine where the links lay or may not with those that are responsible for the shooting. That is obviously part of the active investigation, and we're just simply not in a position to comment on that any further.
Chief, as this is a federal investigation, could you just speak to how that changes sort of the charges, the penalties, like how does that elevate, seriousness of this?
Section 83, which is a portion of the Criminal Code of Canada that deals with terrorism offences, if it's indeed determined to be that, is the mandate under which we operate as the National Police Service pursuant to our integrated national security enforcement teams. But to be clear, these are integrated units that undertake these investigations. So while it may be RCMP-led, it also has the Ontario Provincial Police. Toronto obviously will have a key role in this investigation, and the other large police services in the GTA in particular will be working with us diligently on this investigation, which is now, of course, a high priority matter for us to take on.
Deputy Chief, this does come after you have recovered shell casings from both scenes, right? From some of the synagogue shootings and here, will you be looking at whether they're safe firearms?
We definitely will be. Sorry. We definitely will be looking at any possible connections. Obviously, it is far too early in this investigation, but we do not look at them in isolation. We look at them collectively, and if and how there is something that is found in that to support that, then that will obviously color and direct how the investigation unfolds. But it is not lost on us that the city has unfortunately experienced similar types of events, extremely serious and very concerning shootings at synagogues, and this very much factors into how we will approach this matter as well.
Sir, you mentioned there's evidence to suggest the shooting may have happened as early as 4:30 in the morning, but you guys were called around 5:30. What time do you believe the shooting actually happened?
We believe the shooting happened at 4:30, around 4:29 in fact.
And then someone called in at 5:30?
Exactly. Or actually, an officer was flagged down. So there was a gap. This is why when we share the time of the event, we would like people to be aware that that would be the time. If you were in this area, if you have dash cam footage, for instance, it would have been around 4:30 or so that we believe the incident to have taken place. Again, I'll state that it's early, so investigators are still piecing things together. But this is an early understanding of when we think the timeline may have been.
And just to be flagged down police, was that someone who works at the consulate?
I don't have that information to share at the moment.
Did both individuals that got out of the vehicle, they both had firearms and both shot at the building? Is that your understanding?
It's unfortunately because the investigation is still very active and early. I can't share that. I can tell you that there was a handgun that was discharged and that both individuals were involved in that discharge.
And did bullets actually go through the front door? Can you maybe elaborate a bit on the damage?
I haven't had a look myself or spoken specifically with anyone about the damage, but I can tell you, as most people would know, this is a heavily fortified building, very secure. The glass and the walls are reinforced, and so I don't believe that there was any penetration, if you will, of projectiles into the building. In fact, it's quite possible that people in the building would not have even noticed. That's how strong this building is behind me. So again, we're still piecing some information together, and as we're able to share more updates, we will do so.
Can you confirm how many shots were fired?
I can tell you that there were multiple shots fired. I don't have an exact number to share with you at the moment. More than one.
Chief Leather, just what's the collaboration right now with U.S. partners? Where does that stand, and what communications are there?
There's obviously formal communication going on with our U.S. counterparts, the FBI, the consulate itself here. We've had members at the consulate here this morning, along with Toronto Police, meeting with staff here and their senior executive to discuss the incident. Be rest assured, those conversations are also occurring in Ottawa between officials there and their U.S. counterparts at the embassy.
Premier Ford was just speaking, and he mentioned something about how people need sleeper cells are operating in Canada right now. Is there anything you can share about any intelligence about incidents like this one or others that we're seeing being ordered from outside the country?
Yeah, I don't have any information to provide at this time on any sleeper cells that may or may not exist in Canada. Suffice to say that our CSIS counterparts and the INSETs across the country are actively investigating matters such as this, and we will continue to do so. I think it's important that the public realizes that we've had a number of meetings and discussions already this morning with our federal counterparts, and that does include CSIS both here in Toronto region and at national headquarters, and they are tracking this incident very closely as well.
When you mentioned stepped up security at consulates, do you just mean American consulates in Canada or other countries' consulates and embassies as well?
Other consulates as well, including the Israeli consulate, will be seeing a change in the security posture here in Toronto, as well as Ottawa.
Any other countries?
Not that I'm prepared to speak to at this time. We'll be assessing that on an ongoing basis. But for now, the U.S. consulate and the Israeli consulate will see a change.
So why did you choose those two consulates specifically?
Well, I think it's fairly obvious based on the incidents that have occurred here in Toronto and elsewhere that these consulates deserve a heightened amount of vigilance and security at this time, in the hopes that we can bring the temperature down in the coming days and weeks.
Has something like this ever happened before with the U.S. consulate, shooting?
Not in my memory. I can't recall us either investigating or becoming aware of a shooting here, Deputy.
I cannot recall a shooting. I do recall many, many years ago a firebomb incident. We're going back a ways. I mean, it won't be lost on anyone that the U.S. consulate is the site of many protests and demonstrations, as well as because of geopolitical events. The Israeli consulate has seen a lot of gatherings, people assembling, expressing themselves. So that this would be a scene where something like this would be where the manifestation of frustration with geopolitical events would happen is not lost on us, but that might in part explain why this building is as secure and as fortified as it is.
Do we know how many people were inside the building at the time of the shooting?
I believe there were people inside at the time. I can't confirm that. However, as I was mentioning earlier, the building is so fortified, it's quite possible that people inside would not have noticed that there were shots. Pardon me. That there were shots directed at the front of the building.
And are you able to confirm? I'm not sure how many shots based on the casing.
So I'm afraid I'm not able to share that with you. I can say that it was multiple shots. And there were multiple casings.
Last question, please.
So what's entailed in determining if this is terrorism related? You mentioned that was a possibility.
Well, it's definitely a national security incident because we had the U.S. consulate, after all, struck by gunfire. Whether it's a terrorist event or not, that'll be subject to the investigation that will be undertaken in the coming days and weeks. And that'll be based on the evidence that's collected both here at the scene and subsequently through the work with our partners.
Can you just give us an update quickly on traffic? How long is southbound going to be closed for?
I'm afraid I'm not able to tell you exactly. I mean, I could follow up with you if you like. I'd speak to the people here that are protecting the scene, and rest assured that as soon as we're able to open up traffic, we will. We realize that this is obviously an inconvenience for people, but the investigation is of a very high priority, and we are making sure that we are not leaving anything to chance and looking at every little detail.
I'd like to thank everyone for attending today. Just a reminder, if you were in the area early this morning around 4:29, if you're driving and you have
So an international incident right now is being talked about, and this to me stood out when they were asking that leadership from police in Toronto, do you believe that there are cells in your country, terror cells? He said there may or may not be existing in Canada at this point. But they are now tightening security, stepping it up at both U.S. and Israeli consulates in Toronto and the U.S. Embassy and Israeli Embassy in Ottawa, which, of course, is the capital city of Canada. So we are fortunate to have today Republican Congressman Rick Crawford of Arkansas. He is the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee and the perfect person for this. So we're watching this, you from afar. I want to get your top-line thoughts on what has transpired with our U.S. consulate in Toronto.
Well, sadly, I think this was predictable, that we know that when we're engaged in these type of operations that the threat is elevated to our homeland and to targets overseas. This one is practically in our homeland. This one's taking place in Canada. And so we shouldn't be surprised. We should be redoubling our efforts on counterintelligence here at home and making sure, the question that you highlighted, was this a terror cell? And he answered, as most people would, we don't know for sure if there's a terror cell or if there's not a terror cell, which is exactly why we have to assume there are terror cells, and we have to posture accordingly. So that's the message, I think, going forward, is that we must posture as if these cells exist, because in counterintelligence, you always have to assume the worst, and that's the worst case scenario.
Look, I've done no disguising of my disgust with what's happening on Capitol Hill right now. I mean, we are laid bare. And this is an incident that didn't happen on U.S. soil. The one here in New York City with the ISIS-inspired suspects firing at the mayor's mansion did. And for the political party across the aisle from you, those Democrats on Capitol Hill, as the chairman of House Intelligence, you know what we're up against in this country. You just talked about it. How do you get Democrats? Senator Thune said 2 hours ago they were like not coming back to the table at this point. How do you get them to see us as American citizens and not see their own politics?
Well, when they talk, they're not talking in code anymore. They're saying it right out loud in our face. What's most important to them right now, this is the red line for funding DHS appropriations, is that we agree to not have ICE agents at polling locations. What the heck? What is that about? I mean, what does that tell you? That's not encoded. That's flat out in your face. What they want is to make sure that illegal aliens are treated above the actual sovereignty of United States citizens as they exercise their right to vote. They want to put illegals in that same camp and say, we're more concerned about their safety at polling places. Why polling places? Because they probably are encouraging illegals to come and vote, and they don't need ICE monitoring that. And they just said it. They said, not just any Democrat, the minority leader, Hakeem Jeffries, said that. And when they tell you these things, they're not speaking in code anymore. They're telling you they put the illegals above U.S. citizens.
Look, I know the White House has put President Trump's vision of this. I mean, they wanted the head of DHS gone. Kristi Noem is gone. She's out of that. They're looking at a replacement now, and that confirmation situation coming forward, hopefully as soon as possible, so we have a head of that department who's firm in that position. But Chairman, I mean, this is bigger than what they want at a polling station. This is the core responsibility of the federal government, and that's to protect us. And we saw at the State of the Union, Democrats don't even agree about that part.
Right. No, you're right. It's absolutely maddening that they can't discard their partisan politics for 1 minute, long enough to recognize the imperative of funding our Department of Homeland Security. We're not having a fight over the spending levels in the nutrition benefits, for crying out loud. We're saying, please come forward and fund Department of Homeland Security. We've passed it twice in the House. And these people are intransigent because they hate Trump more than they love the country.
Well, is there anything we can do to pay those TSA workers? I mean, that's what Americans want to know as we go into spring break with our children in tow. Mm-hmm. This isn't just a bunch of businessmen and women running around the country. We have our families with us at this point. Chairman, your last word.
Well, I know that we on the House side, I know the president, they're turning over every stone to see where we can find those revenue streams to make sure those agents across the DHS are being paid. I don't know what that's going to look like. I'm praying that the Democrats cooler heads will prevail, and they'll recognize the need to protect the homeland. Really is in their own interest as well as ours, but it's in the interest of every American that we protect America.
Well, if they fly, yeah. I mean, they're American citizens before they're politicians. Sir, I'm so grateful to have you on this day with the breaking news out of Canada and our U.S. consulate getting hit by gunfire. No injuries there, thank the good Lord. Chairman, thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.